Hello and welcome to the Unwanted Opinion podcast, the show which me and my friends give our unwanted opinion on all things film. My name is Lewis and I'm joined today with Kyle.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. I always start that. I always go as if I'm going to say
Ah,
another person's name, but
yeah, I know.
Gonzalo's not been here
It's
for like
it's
three
it's it's.
episodes
I
now, so
know
it's
3 episodes now. It's been so smooth. That's what can I say?
mm.
No,
Oh
no.
my god! Well,
He's
what is
he's
maybe watching, Kyle?
no. He's gallivanting around the states at the moment. I think, if I'm right. I'm not entirely sure.
Mm. Kyle, you record on good to record on Thursday, and he was like, and kind of like, well, what do you mean? He's been on holiday for ages. Where do you
Well,
think
this
he
is the thing,
is?
because I only found
I thought he
out
was busy,
recently.
working man.
I was saying I only found out recently, and I was like, oh, how I was like, "Did you haven't told any of us?" He's like, "I'm pretty sure I've told Lewis." And I was like, and then this happened. I was like, "You clearly didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You clearly didn't tell any of
Yeah,
us."
and didn't tell it. I don't,
Um,
well, maybe I'm just a bad
or
friend
maybe we
and
just
didn't
didn't
realise.
listen.
But
Yeah,
yeah, so we're both in a different setup today as well.
I
Not
know.
in
I'm
our
trying to
actual
get
homes.
trying to get the lighting. It's just horrific. So
But
apologies.
I know it's not the same. Actually, this setup is way better than what I have
Yeah, for you,
usually in my
yeah, isn't
flat.
it?
But
You were saying that.
yeah, for me, I'm like, this is great. This is what I want all the time. But yes, on today's episode, we have a lot to review and discuss. So yes, Kyle has just seen Twisters yesterday. Actually,
Yeah,
I think we got it earlier than the States here. I'm pretty sure we got it on Wednesday. So Kyle's going to give us a spoiler-free review for
spoiler
the
free.
Glenn
Yep.
Powell, Daisy Edgar Jones, reboot sequel, I guess, of the original 1996 film. And also, we have full spoiler filled reviews for Disney's The Acolyte and The Boys season 4. So,
Hmm.
if you've not seen either of those shows, maybe you might not care about spoilers, but we'll give time codes and everything below
Yeah.
so you can avoid spoilers at your pleasure. So, Kyle, let's start with Twisters.
Right.
You got to see this yesterday,
I
so
did.
I'm
I went
interested.
to I went to the very
Hmm.
first screening of Twisters, like eleven
Wow.
fifty in the morning. It was pretty. And actually, it was no, it was there were some people. There were some people there.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, so Twisters is directed by Lee Isaac Chung and written by
mm.
Mark L. Lewis. Um, there's a couple of things. The app has just decided to frozen just as I went to. So we'll find out who
Mm.
else is in who wrote it. But yeah, it stars Daisy Edgar Jones as Kate Carter, Glenn Powell as Tyler Owens, and Anthony Ramos as Javi. And basically, the plot centers around Daisy Edgar Jones, Kate Carter. She is the main character in this film.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
and
Okay.
few years prior, she was a meteorologist trying to discover how she could basically kill a tornado, and she was doing it with a bunch of
Mm.
friends. And an incident occurred, and then she decided to never chase another storm ever again. 5 years
Mm,
later,
okay. Okay.
five years later, her pal Javi is starting his own company with his business
Mm-hmm.
partner, which is David Cornsect, big
Mm-hmm.
Superman. Weirdly, as I was saying to you earlier this week, I have
Oh.
never seen him in anything, and now in the span of the week, I've seen him in two things, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But Javi
Wow.
and his business partner Scott have started this new company, and they need Daisy Edgar Jones, Kate's like sixth sense when it comes to storm hunting. And
Mm.
when they bring her
Mm.
on, they run into Glenn Powell's Tyler Owens, who is a YouTuber. He is this kind of internet
Oh, that's
personality
what he is.
who
Okay. Mm-hmm.
goes around chasing storms, and he has a kind of wee kind of posse that kind of join him, and like he's got a wee bit
Mm-hmm.
of a following. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
Tyler has got a British news journalist with him, just kind of reporting on him for an article. Okay, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just them chasing storms, trying to see what they can do. And that's the basic plot of Twisters. It's not too
Yeah.
in depth. They do chuck a lot of science jargon in our
Yeah.
way if you don't understand
Right.
anything
Okay.
about
Right.
meteorology, which I don't. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yes, so right down to the nits and gritty of Twisters. I have
Mm.
never seen the original Twister with
Okay.
um
Mm-hmm.
Bill
Bill
Paxton. Bill
Paxton. Yeah.
Paxton? Yeah. I've never seen the
Mm.
original Twisters. I've seen some kind of clips of like the behind the scenes where they've got like a fully twisted house, and he's
Mm.
like
Yeah.
sitting
It
on
looks
like
really
a
cool. Mm-hmm.
hanging upside down thing. I
Mm-hmm.
feel if I was to watch that, I would say the charm's maybe missing from this particular film.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Where
Okay.
where I have my issues with Twister, I think that when the disaster parts happen, it's great.
Hmm.
But
So it's a
the
good
disasters,
disaster film
there's
on the
some, there
special
are
effects
some,
front and
yeah,
stuff like
there
that.
are some great disaster
Mm.
moments. But the thing
Hmm.
I think I kind of struggled with Twisters is that the disasters are always very, dare I say, it's not as dramatic as say your Moonfalls, your 2012s, right? No, but I'm saying like,
Moonfall is an odd example. It's not as
well, no, but
ridiculous as
Moonfalls,
them.
well,
It's
yeah,
not as big as
ridiculous.
them.
It's not as
Oh.
big. It's like, a lot of the times it's just them in very windy scenarios, and then when it gets really
Well,
escalated,
yeah.
people, yeah, I know, but
Mhm.
saying that it kind of takes away because a lot of it is more. There are a couple of bits where it is sets, and there's what I do enjoy about it is like I can tell a lot of this
Mhm.
was filmed on location. Like a lot of them is just
Mhm.
driving these cars through these fields, air
Yeah.
guns being blasted in their face, and I did enjoy that because I'm like, you can go a bit too heavy in the CGI with a disaster film.
Mhm.
What I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
struggled
Absolutely.
with this is the characters, and more specifically Daisy Edgar Jones, Kate Carter. I really struggled with her as a main character. She really has this
Okay.
classic um lead that has like the sixth sense. Like she
Right.
doesn't.
Okay.
They go like, oh, here's the map of the data. She says, I don't need it. I'll just look at the
Mm.
wind, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Right.
great.
Okay.
We
Mhm.
got one of those.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's the kind of the troubled character who had an issue in the past. It's like I will never chase a storm again, and I'm gonna chase a storm again, and then
It
just
sounds
having.
very. It sounds very classic. Actually, classic kind of '90s disaster movie hero
It
type
is.
stuff,
It,
though. It
it is. It
sounds.
is. It
Uh,
is. And maybe it's the fact I'm
mm,
just not in love with the kind of that sort of like I'm not a huge
mm.
Armageddon fan or the Core.
Okay.
I'm not a
I
huge
get it.
fan of
Yeah.
them.
I get
Those
it.
kind of films.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
just felt that sometimes the dialogue isn't the best.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
Anthony Ramos, right? He was in Hamilton. He was in the original production of Hamilton. He is a
Yes.
fantastic
Yes.
musical theatre performer.
Mm.
I don't know if it is translating well into films because when I saw him in The Heights, I loved him because
Yeah.
he was
He was
doing
great
musical
in Heights. I
theatre.
love that film.
He's
Yeah.
brilliant
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
Transformers: Rise of the Beast, and in this, I'm like, you
Mhm.
definitely have an area where you thrive in rather
Yeah.
than generic kind of action films.
Mhm.
Him in the musical theatre, he's
Yeah.
incredible, but there was just
I
something
think
that I mean,
I think
yeah,
for sorry, I think for any actor like to do well in like the Transformers like human character
mhm.
role or as like the supporting role in Twisters, it might be hard to,
it might be hard, but I
show
mean,
your talents.
I dare say
Mhm.
that even Shia LaBeouf was a lot more character filled when he did his
Mhm.
Transformers movies. He was a lot more of a
Yeah.
caricature almost. But anyway, apart from that,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the characters, sometimes the dialogue's a wee bit kind of almost predictable. Like, you know what conversations are going to be before they have them.
Mhm.
You can kind of see the
Mhm.
plot when you're watching it. There's not much of a twist or a turn
Mhm.
in terms of the kind of storylines. But I have to say, like I did say, I felt like the action was really good. I felt like when the tornadoes
Okay,
did
well
come up,
that's good.
I was like,
Mhm.
this is like I genuinely did. I love the scary nature aspect where
Mhm.
Earth and just the weather was the villain in this kind of scenario, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
it is genuinely quite quite intimidating. And I mean, I'm sure you have some people who go, "Yeah, that could never happen." Like it's not like in the films or anything like that.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, overall, I was kind of just left a bitter taste in my tongue from it. The
Mhm.
promotions kind of suggested a wee bit more of something, and I was really upset when that didn't happen. And I think we can
Alright,
talk about that
okay.
more on. It's just the way the
On next
trailer
week's
went.
episode, yeah.
I was like, "Oh, is this ending going to be
Mhm.
insane and like ridiculous?" And
Right.
I don't think it
Okay.
was. But yeah,
Not
I'm
as
just I'm
crazy
gonna
as thought
leave
it'd
it.
be.
I'm gonna leave it with I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I just have to once
Mhm.
again down that I really do think Glenn Powell is just gonna be the head of action films for the next 20 years, man. He took
Well,
a very kind of simple character and just made that man
mhm.
charismatic. Like he is meant to be. You know how you have these characters that the audience is meant to hate, but the actor just does it so well that you just kind of love him,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
at the
Like
parts
the
where
arrogant asshole type.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and he's
Mhm.
ridiculously charming,
He's
and
so charming.
Daisy Edgar Jones, I like I said, I think so. I've seen her in other films where like her role in Fresh with Sebastian Stan, which
Mhm.
was the horror film.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
actually liked her performance in it. I like the kind of scared aspect. I
Mm,
think she's a great
mm,
actor, and
mm,
I don't know. I felt I don't know if this film really showed all of her potential with an action film,
mm,
but she did
mm.
do the running great, as all action films do.
Did the running?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna leave it with
What's
6 out of 10.
what is
We'll
it?
have a more in depth
Fair.
discussion next week when you've seen it, hopefully.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the director of it did Minari, which was like a. It's so mad that he's actually right. Minari's like this really subtle, low
Hmm.
key, really touching film about these Korean farmers, and then his next film is like Twisters,
That's
and
so
it's like,
bizarre.
why is he gone to do that? But that is so bizarre. But would you say before we kind of end up, would you say it's one of the better action films you've seen so far this year? I mean, has there been really a lot? I mean, we've had Furiosa,
Mm,
of course, but
uh, uh,
action
uh,
wise,
uh,
uh,
your Dune Part Twos and your Furiosas. I mean, those are
mm,
those
mm,
are pretty once
mhm.
in a generation action film. I wouldn't say this is a once in a
I
generation
wouldn't.
action film.
Yeah, I don't. I wouldn't say like Dune is particularly like. Yeah, it's got like explosions, but
It's
like
got
it's not
I know. I
like
mean, right.
it's not that type of.
Furiosa,
It's not Furiosa
Furiosa.
where that's
Then,
like combat and
yeah,
cars and explosions and stuff like that. Hmm.
it's it, it's as action heavy as Civil War, but if you didn't have the
Mm.
tornadoes, that's just like
Right.
what
Okay.
minus the guns as well.
Okay.
But
I get you.
like
I get you.
minus the guns, a lot of
Um.
car driving and it's not a bad film. I
Mm,
would say go out if you want to have like a field day and go out and have it watch a film. It's good. It hits the
mhm.
notes. I just think something was missing from the characters a
Okay.
wee bit.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
That just kind of bummed
I
me.
will
And
say.
I'll be interested in you
Uh,
because there was something. It was either my cinema or they've done something really weird with
mhm.
the film, in which they like almost the light dims and brightens quite frequently. I feel that was just my
Oh,
cinema
right.
screening.
Okay.
Just
Oh,
just keep
yeah. It
an
could
eye out
be.
for it for me.
That's weird. Okay, will do. I will say I don't really know why they're releasing it a week before Deadpool and Wolverine. I think that was a really bad
Well,
idea.
no, I believe
Um,
Tom Cruise came to him and said, "Just release your film in the worst possible time, and it will be great."
yeah. Like I honestly
Yeah.
don't know why they didn't release this last week. Um, like
Yeah.
Despicable Me 4's second week, which that also had like a 5 day weekend, so that was fine.
Mhm.
I really don't know why they've decided two action blockbusters releasing a week apart, and one is going to do significantly more numbers than the other. So
Yeah.
I really I don't know. And the budget of this thing is $200 million. So
Mm.
yeah, really really odd decision
But
making
yeah,
in
no,
that front. Was it Paramount? Is this a
yeah.
Paramount film? Is it
Uh,
actually a Paramount film?
no,
Do you
it's
remember which came
Universal.
up before it started? Is it
Was it
Universal?
Universal? I think it's
Damn,
Universal.
you tell me. Um, Whatever that it doesn't matter. But I just found that um, I found that really odd that they decided to release that on the weekend they did. But anyway, right?
It's Universal. It's
Let's
Universal. Sorry, it is
It's
Universal.
Universal. Okay. Okay, now that makes more sense why they released it 2 weeks after Despicable Me 4 then, because that is their film as well. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that makes more sense. Right, okay, let's move on here. So time to talk about TV, which
Yep.
we do sometimes on the show.
Rarely,
Right,
but yeah.
so this is a
Mhm.
spoiler-filled review for Disney's Acolyte, which I finished yesterday, watched all 8 episodes. A show I wasn't actually going to watch because look, to start with, I'm not the biggest Star Wars nut, right? I I've seen all the films, obviously. I watched Star Wars as a kid, but I never. I think this is useful for context for me, is why if people start to freak out about what I'm going to say about this show, um, I'm not the biggest Star Wars nut. I don't put it on a pedestal as like the greatest thing ever. I think some of the films are good to great, although some of the films are truly awful.
Yep. Yep.
And their TV projects overall, I've had to say, have been really, really underwhelming. I really
Mhm.
have not liked really many of or any of the shows they've done, bar the first two, yeah, I'd say the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian and Andor, of
Yeah. Of
course,
course.
which I thoroughly enjoyed that actually. I thought that was a proper TV spectacle, like cinematic spectacle really. Like
Yeah.
I've said this before, like the Star Wars TV stuff has often felt really small and felt like like an like a mid 2000s like high end cable show, not like like Game of Thrones and
Yeah.
Chernobyl and Better Call Saul, which have been really sort of cinematic TV pieces, even on lesser budgets than some of the Star Wars stuff. So getting that out of the way, okay, so let's just start with the plot of the Acolyte. So the Acolyte follows Master Saul, and he's on this quest to sort of find out. The first episode opens with the murder of a Jedi Master, right, by this mysterious figure, right, who's actually May, one of two twins, who is
Okay.
going about and hunting down these four former Jedi Masters, and sort of leading on this investigation is Master Saul, who is played by Lee Hwang Hee, who you might know from
Squid
Squid
Game.
Games. Guy actually learned English to play this
That
role because
that
he wanted to be in the Star
blows
Wars
my mind.
project.
That genuinely blows my mind that
Yeah,
he did that.
it's honestly it's really impressive. And so he goes on this quest to try and find May, but also she's one of a twin, so they're also at the beginning believe that it might be this girl Osha. So Osha and May were both played by Amandla Stenberg, and yeah, and so why is May trying to kill all these former Jedi Masters? Well, that is sort of the mystery that's sort of put in place for the first half of the show, but it
Okay.
is found out that years ago, these two twins were part of this witch covenant on this planet, and these two were created by what they call what does Master Saul call it again? It's got a word for it. In Evescence or something like that, which is basically this huge amount of force energy, which is now somehow has the capabilities to create life. And so you find out May wants to kill these Jedi Masters because back there was this tragedy when basically Osha, they're both force sensitive, right? Because they're obviously
Right.
created by some sort of force power. And so back in the past, the Osha, I'm going to get confused
It's
with the
so
twins.
confusing.
Osha
Yeah.
wanted to go off with the Jedi and train as a Jedi, even though she's slightly too old. And then obviously May felt betrayed, and in doing so, trapped Osha in this room and set ablaze to this entire home where they belong.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Master Saul and the rest of the Jedi Masters are sort of fighting with the witches, and then May sees that Master Saul kills her mother, right? And
Oh.
so that's why she's going out to kill these four Jedi's, because they were involved in the execution of her mum, which was, it's one of those things where it's like a misunderstanding, but also you can understand where May's coming from, and Saul was doing it to protect Osha, because
Yeah.
the mother witch was going to sort of, well, she says she was going to let her go and join the Jedi, but Saul didn't know what she was actually going to do. Now, also, meanwhile, there's so much to talk about here. Meanwhile, there's also this mysterious figure, the Stranger, played by Manny Jacinto, who you might know from The Good Place, who was really funny in that.
Oh.
But yes, he is the
Yes.
villain of
Yes,
the
I do.
show. Yes, who's been training May on the sidelines and trying to get her to turn to the dark side. So you have kind of all this in place, right? And look, the Acolyte, right? Okay, so the Acolyte has been, for some reason, this show that has birthed so much controversy, and
Yeah.
I don't really understand why. Because look, to tell it to you straight, I think the Acolyte is fine. I think it's average to below average. It's nothing amazing. It's nothing really worthy of such
Hatred.
controversy or discussion or hatred or anything like that. I don't understand why people have picked this project to be, the stance of like this huge culture war stance of I don't really know. It's just so random to me. You have these people online who are trying to nitpick everything this show has done to, try and undermine its like validity as a Star Wars project because I think one of the actors is trans. I don't even know. See, watching this show, I don't know who's the trans person, and I don't care because it doesn't matter. I'm watching a piece of fiction, right?
Yeah.
And that stuff doesn't matter. So I don't. Whatever. You have these weird people online who found that information out and so want to tear the show apart and discredit everything it does. I will say this: Performance-wise, I think it's okay. I will say Lee Jung-jae as Master Salt is probably the best actor here. Actually, Manny was also really good as the Stranger as well. I really liked those two characters particularly. I think they are the most interesting characters in the show. I also have to give it credit where it's due. When it comes to the combat and the lightsaber combat stuff, this is
Yeah,
this is the best live action stuff I think I've ever seen. This is up there with
brilliant.
Duel of the Fates.
Really?
Um,
Wow, that's quite
yeah, I
astonishing.
really episode 5 and episode 8 have horrific lightsaber fights. And they don't go like episode 3 super ridiculous where swinging on ropes over a lava river,
Yeah, yeah,
that
no.
crazy shit. Because I really like that Anakin Skywalker
That's
Obi-Wan
just
fight
fun.
up to a point, but then it gets just a bit silly. The lightsaber stuff in this is genuinely fantastic. It's choreographed brilliantly. You can understand and see it all. It's not shaky it's not edited badly. It's really well put together. And I'll say, like, the whole Master Soul thing. Now, this is where I kind of get into the issues of it. Okay, so there is this fixation with a lot of TV shows as well to sort of try and keep the momentum, or I guess keep your viewers interested. So they kind of have to come up with twists and mysteries and things like that. Now, I think the biggest problem with this show is the structure of it, and I think it completely ruins the pace of it. Because I'll say this: the first half of the show, the second half of the show is much stronger than the first half of the show. The first half of the show, I will say, is actually kind of tough to sit through because it plods along and kind of meanders, and it's just like, oh, right, can we just kind of get to it? And you have this episode 3, which is this entire flashback episode, which is I think is the worst episode out of the bunch. I think it's
Right,
really
okay.
just like I think the performances from kind of most people involved aren't great. I think
Okay,
it's
okay.
just like because it's this whole thing to understand the twins' backstory, and they do this thing at the end of the episode where, as I said, May starts a fire at home, and then they edit it in a weird way. So then you kind of know, okay, they're purposely avoiding giving us answers, and then you go, well, you kind of put two and two together because you go, well, you've edited this in such a weird way. Either it's really bad editing, which I'm like, no, they're clearly trying to hide something with this. And there's only so many characters in this show,
Yeah.
and so many people have shown up that you go, well, I think the Jedi have something to do with this. So your mystery's not that great. Also, trying to like also this big reveal of the villain, the stranger character, is like once again wasn't really a big reveal because there's only one other character who's working with
Yeah.
me. Like we haven't seen a bunch of people, so we're like, yeah, it probably would have been
It
that
really is.
guy because who else is there, right? So the twist is like not a twist, but because they have this fixation of trying to create this big mystery and this big twist, you find out Saul killed their mother at the end of episode 7, right? And you're like, okay, well, I kind of predict the Jedi were involved in something. And I'm like, you should have just shown that at 3 episodes in, because then I would have also been more intrigued to watch the next episode because I'm like, oh, whoa, what the Jedi up to? This is
Yeah.
crazy. They're murdering
It gives you more
these
time to
people.
wonder how that storyline's
Yeah,
going to be concluded, rather than just one episode, and
yeah,
you're like, well, it's going to be
Yeah,
concluded next
yeah,
episode.
exactly. And it makes you conflict with Master Saul as well because you're like, oh my god, he's kept this entire secret from Osha because May saw it with her own eyes, but she's kept this from the good twin all
Mm.
along, and you're like, oh, this creates for some interesting intrigue as we go on with the show, but you don't find that out until the second last episode,
And
and
then
I'm
by
like,
that point,
why?
yeah,
By that point, we've only got one episode left. You can't really do
it's
much with that,
concluding. We're done.
and
Yeah.
is concluding. And also, this is my problem because in the last 2 episodes, they go into this entire idea of like the Jedi and the whole Jedi Order being this corrupt, deceptive force who are purposely lying to the government to sort of make sure their reception and their reputation is squeaky clean, and they are like morally greater than everyone else, and they are these people who have their emotions in check, which they do not, which Saul does not. And I'm like, this is great. This is good stuff. And this is prequel stuff. This is stuff George Lucas did with the prequels as well. Was that the entire arrogance of the Jedi got them destroyed. That's something also discussed in
Yeah.
Episode 8. And it's really good to see the seeds of that 100 years before the prequels even happened. So I'm like, yes, this is stuff I would like to see more of. But we've wasted half a season plodding along with this mystery, which you could have put more agency and more intrigue into if you weren't obsessed with trying to make these lackluster twists. I don't get it, and it really annoys me because I really think there is good stuff in this show, I really like the stranger character. I really like Master Soul. Main Osha. By the end of it, you're like, okay, where is this going? But I'm saying that by the end of it, not a couple episodes in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think it's the worst Star Wars show they've made. I don't.
No.
Like I said to UK, I think the Mandalorian series 3 is like hot garbage, and the Obi-Wan show
And
is
you
a
didn't see the Book
massive
of Boba Fett.
disappointment. I didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett because all I heard was everyone,
Yeah.
including you and family and friends, saying that is a bad show. So I didn't watch that. So out of the ones I've watched, I don't think this isn't the worst Star Wars show I've seen because there is promise in it, and they do kind of set up for a season 2. And I'll say this because, well, obviously I'm already in spoilers. So what they kind of end with is that May gets Saul to confess to not with unknowingly confess to Osha that he did kill their mother, and in doing so, Osha then kills Master Saul, right? And she has that whole thing where she takes his lightsaber and it goes from blue to red,
It
and there is this
bleeds.
interesting.
Yeah.
It bleeds, yeah. And I was like, oh wow, okay, I've not seen this in live action before. I know these stuff in like other Star
Comics
Wars
and yeah,
mediums.
yeah, all the
They've
media.
done that stuff, yeah. Um, and so it ends with, we began the show with May and the Stranger being a Master Padawan thing, to then ending the show with Osha and the Stranger being the Master and Padawan,
Oh.
and May getting her entire memory erased so that she is safe from like ever revealing any intel. So you've kind of flipped it. I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting for a season 2, and but and I don't know. Like, will I watch season 2? I mean, yes. Okay, if season 2 came out tomorrow, I probably would start watching it because I'm getting more intrigued with it. But I'm also upset that they killed the most interesting character in the show. They've killed him. So,
What
yeah,
I
it's a
yeah,
bit
so
iffy. Mhm,
I've not watched this because like you said, I've
mhm,
just been burned out from the last few Star Wars projects, and
I get that.
I I was worried that this project wouldn't do what I was hoping it would do, which would be
Mhm,
to completely make up its own story and have no connection to the films.
mhm,
And as the things went on, I was like, maybe this was. And then the last episode, and
mhm,
then I saw
mhm,
the cameos, and I was like, well, I'm glad I did it because once again, they
mhm,
can't
yeah,
just make an independent
yeah,
show that has nothing to do.
mhm,
The closest we've got
mhm,
is bloody Andor, and that's from a movie. But
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I genuinely thought
yeah,
this would
and that's
be an
connected to
opportunity
movie.
to make a cool mystery, and I was just like, I don't trust them because
Mhm,
if Disney knows
no,
anything,
well,
it's
mhm,
sequel baiting and cameos, and we
mhm,
got that at the end of
yeah,
this with
mhm.
Yoda and
Yoda and
Plagueis.
Plagueis. Mhm.
So
Well, yeah, I mean, the Plagueis thing, you kind of saw coming because it's like, well, who's sort of running this? Like,
yeah,
who's teaching the stranger and like who's his master and all that stuff. So, and you're like, oh well, the timelines kind of match up because I don't think Palpatine's even alive yet, sort of thing. The Yoda thing, he doesn't say anything; it's just the back of his head, but it is a it is a yeah, it is one of those things where it's like, right, okay, well, great, and it's a cameo, and I know you're leading into another season or whatever. Um, but yeah, and they also have things like the May character is more frustrating than the Osha one. The Osha one's interesting because you have this good character who really had faith in Master Saul, who really loved him, and then by the end of it is the one who kills him because he lied to her entire life. I'm like, that's pretty cool. But the May character is more frustrating because she was, the assassin trying to kill these
Jedi.
former, well,
Yeah,
her former Jedi masters, and she's constantly. It's one of those things where it kind of doesn't really add up because she's doing this thing where it's like she's like episode 4. She's like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to hand myself in. And then when the Jedi approach her, she then starts to fight them, and then tries to, but then when she's in captivity, she then tries to obviously use that to her advantage to get Master Soul to
yeah.
convince Osha of the truth. And then by the end of it, she doesn't she just goes, yeah, you can wipe my memory, it's cool. And also, it's one of those things where it's like one of the things she did, so that she's obsessed with like
Yeah,
the death of her mother and trying to get Master Saul to confess of his crimes, but also Master Saul's also like, you did burn down your entire home. Like,
village,
you
whatever home.
killed those
Yeah.
people. I killed your mother.
hmm
I didn't know what she was doing,
Do,
but you're the one who set the fire and got all those people killed. And that's just never ever like dealt with. like her sister doesn't seem to care that she killed everyone else. It's just like the mother thing. And I'm just like, she did kill everyone else. Everyone else she cared about there too. I'm just like, but she's just kind of given a pass on that. And then you're ended with
Mm.
the whole memory wipe thing. I'm just like, the May thing, I'm just like, her whole thing was a bit
Do you
frustrating.
think the
Anyway,
memory right thing's just so they don't need to do the twins again, and then like his filming with two of the same actor could be such a no, but it just in a
maybe.
practicality standpoint, it could
Mm,
be such a pain to do. You're shooting
maybe.
scenes twice
But
basically, and
I feel like they didn't know where to go with the May character when it was
mm.
done. So they just
Do
like,
you
she hands
know if
herself in
this
with no
has a season
memory.
2 or not? I've not been
No
aware.
idea. I think they said these. I think this is bullshit, right? I think I saw somewhere they said this was done as like an 8 episode open and closed case sort of thing, but it's not.
No, it's not.
It's definitely not. It's sure like they sort of tie up the ends with one of the other Jedi like masters telling her that it was all Master Saul did all the assassinating, so it looks like the Jedi have like completed the mystery, they've solved
Yeah.
the case, we were in charge, like it was kept hidden and we solved
Oh,
it, and that's the end of it,
that's
which
such a
isn't the
good
truth.
plot line
Yeah,
as
and that isn't the
well.
truth because the Senate want to have an independent investigation of the Jedi Order to see if they should be allowed this much, freedom to do what they want. And so they
Yeah.
sort of end on that note, being like, "Oh yeah, it was Master Saul, and here's an open and shut case, and we solved it, and we're the best." So that's what I'm saying. I liked all that stuff, but they've clearly the end of the shot is Osha and the stranger looking off into the sunset together as like Master and Padawan, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, and you did the Yoda thing and the Plagueis thing. It's like you want to do a season two, so
Yeah.
I mean, will they get a
I
season two? I don't know I don't
I
know how many views this thing has, but
if it gets a
mm,
season 2,
mm,
I will maybe watch season 1. I'll see. I'm
right.
just
It's
I only plan to watch
mhm,
Andor season 2 at the moment. I don't really care about any
yeah,
other
fair.
Star Wars projects.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's got its moments for sure, but overall, I'm gonna give the Acolyte a 5 out of 10.
Fair.
Like I'm saying, the it really needed to restructure its show,
Yeah.
and the mystery itself, it doesn't feel like a really big thing. Like it definitely feels like a small like TV thing, but then somehow has incredible lightsaber combats and a really good lead character. So it's a weird thing. The Acolyte.
Yeah.
I just hate how I hate the quote unquote Star Wars nut job fandom that
Fandom.
feels the
Yeah.
need to pick on a
Nah.
fairly hard. It's a harmless show. Like it's
This doesn't do
nothing
anything. No TV does
controversial about it. It
anything.
doesn't do
Yeah.
anything. It's like relax. But anyway, that is the Acolyte. So
Yep.
let's move on to the Boys
The
season
boys.
4.
Which
Right.
finished
So
today.
it finished today. Yes. So the Boys season 4. So this is what it's been 2 years since season 3, right?
Yeah, season 3 was 2022.
Yeah, Jesus, right. So this is like the penultimate season, so they say, of the Boys. And so God, spoilers once again. Spoilers once again for the Boys season 4. If you haven't watched it all, we're going to go in depth here. But yeah, so this season sort of picks up where they sort of left off. Was it the Vice President? What's her name again? I forgot her name.
Newman. Newman,
Newman. Thank you.
Vice President Newman and Skinner, like, they basically got,
Mhm.
they were going to be in power, they won the election, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Butcher basically got told he had like 6 months to live.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, he was kind of out of the boys, all this sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
kicked
And
out of the
then,
team. Yeah.
yeah, Ryan moved in with his dad
Yes, yes. Homelander, of course,
after
yeah, and at the end of season
killed
3,
somebody.
Homelander had killed someone and has actually been put on trial for that as well. There's huge sort of left and right political divides. We now have the Starlighters who are purely against Homelander, and Homelander's really quote unquote patriotic sort of radical right who are in
Yeah.
support of his cause and what he and I feel he's justified in what he's doing. And then, of course, you have the boys trying to do their thing, try and take out the vice president, as well as find a way to try and kill Homelander. And Butcher wants to try and get Ryan back. That is
It's
overall
the
the
same
synopsis
plot
of
as
the
season 3,
same stuff
probably.
as before. Yeah. So, Kyle, what were your overall thoughts of the boys
Ah,
season 4? Mm.
Right. I have to say that I felt this should have
Mm.
been the last season. I felt
Okay.
that this season, the season that we had, could have been restricted to 4 episodes, and then we had a 4 episode mad finale, and it had been all
Yeah.
blown out guts and glory. I
Yeah.
just felt this is, I think, especially after season 3, it's the same tune every single time. It's just slightly
Yeah, I
different.
agree.
A slightly different instrument every single time. There's always
Mhm.
they always just bring in a new character. This season, I
Yeah.
felt hurt me a wee bit more because
Okay.
there was a lot of storylines that really just did nothing. Truthfully,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
two of which stand out. Huey and his dad, and Frenchie in prison.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, well, the Frenchie prison thing, you bring that up. I was like, what was the point in that?
what was the point of
What is
that?
the point
You
in
had
that?
you had
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
episodes building up
Mhm.
with him dating this guy who he'd killed his entire family, and you're like, oh, and then he goes to
Mhm.
prison, and in the next episode he's out, and then there's no guilt whatsoever. He just continues,
No.
and I'm like,
Doing the
all
Frenchie
right,
stuff, making
right,
drugs and whatever, yeah.
what was the point of that? And then Huey and
Mhm.
his dad, and then I was saying to, I don't know if I was saying to you or to Hannah that I was like, Simon Pegg hasn't been in
Mhm.
the show since like season 1. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like he's like looking to get out of it. He's not been there.
Yeah.
He was lying in a bed for four
Yeah.
episodes. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't doing much.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
there's so
No,
many
that's
things I was like,
interesting.
what is
So,
happening?
if you want to, so that Huey, the Huey, let's just the Huey. No, let's talk about Huey, right?
Yeah.
Huey, I feel just got really shit. I feel like they didn't know what to do with him in this series
I,
actually, and I
I
think
really think they
that's
didn't
why
know what to do.
I
Yeah.
think that's why they gave him the Simon Pegg storyline. Because now, I was like, I was like, I'm not going to make a verdict on this storyline until it's done, right? I want to see where this goes by the end of the season, right? Because I was like, I also in the same opinion was like, what? Simon Pegg was in like one or a couple episodes or something in season 1. Like I don't even remember.
He
Like,
was in like
he's sort of an
3 episodes
inconsequential
in
character.
total. Yeah.
So yeah, they're giving this Huey like an emotional storyline, and then that whole sort of dilemma of should I give him the compound V to potentially save his life, and of course it's actually not him. His mother gives him that, and he freaks out and ends up going through walls and human beings and killing a bunch of people, and then they have to sort of put him down. So I was like, okay, so you have Huey to deal with the death of his father. You then have Huey to deal with seeing his mother again for the first time, God knows how many years since he was a
Yeah.
child. And I was like, okay, there's a huge amount of emotional vulnerability you got to give this character. This is a huge, huge stuff you're
Well,
giving him.
add on to the fact that
Uh-huh.
the news about him and his girlfriend having an abortion went public.
Yeah, yeah, all
You
that.
know,
And what do they really do with it? The next episode, they just throw him in as what's his name, Web Weaver,
Webweaver.
to then get sexually assaulted in a dungeon. To then that's when they have the scene because okay, that episode at the beginning is like him trying to say to the guys or the boys, I should say, he's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm not actually. It's okay. I've got over my father's death. It's fine. And then by the end of it, he has that breakdown and he cries. I'm like, okay, we've finally gotten to something, right? Where are we going to go with that?
Nothing.
Where do we go with it, Kyle?
And then
Where is
and
Huey
then
emotionally by
even
the end of it?
no, but see, but even at
Like,
the end, I was like,
uh huh.
the whole shapeshifter thing taking over from Starlight.
Hmm.
I was like, is
And
this gonna
that
be
too. Oh my.
but then that also
Yeah,
just ended,
yeah,
and I was kind of like, oh, I
yeah.
thought this was gonna be a bit of a longer
They're gonna go into
thing.
next season with it or
Season,
something.
yeah, and then I'd
Maybe.
have thought,
Yeah,
imagine that you're like, how much time has passed, and it's not been Annie this entire
mm,
time, and it's just been,
yeah,
and I was just
yeah,
like, all right, okay, that's that done. That's all right, fair,
yeah.
done, whatever.
But this,
Um,
no, this is the problem with me. I was like, and also from the other character's perspective, kind of shit friends and girlfriend who are just like, yeah,
mm,
just fucking go in. I was like, oh, you sure you're fine to go in and do this covert mission? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. Okay, great, go. They don't actually take it upon themselves to be like, maybe we should just tell you
no.
to not do this one. Just
Um,
go, all right. He says it's fine, so we believe him. And then there's just so by the end of it all, but Kiri's been through all this shit this season, and he's still just like just going along with it.
what am
Just
I
go along with
doing?
it. Not any
Um,
severe like emotional character, progression on that front. He's just like,
you know,
and
there's
then he gets
so
arrested in the end, like everyone else. Yeah.
there's so many episodes in
Mhm.
this that I was like, what's the point?
Mhm.
When they had Carlos Esposito show up. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Side point, I thought he was brilliant in Maxine. Don't think I told you that. I thought he was just
Oh yeah, yeah,
he
you
was
like yeah, he was good, Maxine. Yeah, I liked
hysterical
him.
in that. But anyway, he
Mm-hmm.
shows up and they do the whole thing where they go to the
Mm-hmm.
V'd up zombie
The
animal
farm.
sort of thing like that,
Yeah.
and then they kidnap the guy, he did the drug, doesn't work, and then Frenchie ends up just doing it again. I'm like, yeah, okay, like, because it's always gonna, you always have
Yeah.
something that has to go wrong. Then you guys just fix it in the
Mm-hmm.
end anyway. It's
Yeah.
not. What is
Yeah.
the what is the
Yeah.
point? That you could have been like Frenchie being like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I could do it, and I'm like, yeah, right, cool. Um, I just I don't know. So many
I know
storylines.
what you
I
mean.
was like,
Even
it's
like,
like, can we right,
even
can I
like,
just jump on one
uh-huh.
thing? Sorry.
Yeah.
The build up for the Homelander episode, I
Mm-hmm.
just think that was unnecessary. I don't. No offense. I think Anthony Starr has been great as Homelander every single
I
episode.
still think
I
he's the highlight of the show. He's really
mhm,
enjoyable to watch.
he
When
is,
he's, you know, just he's
but
funny. He's also, he can be, he's unpredictable. Yeah, I
mhm,
like him. Mhm.
I just didn't
But you,
feel
sorry.
like everybody
Mhm.
hyping up that episode to be like
Mhm.
the villain performance of a century. I was like, it's just more
Mhm.
of the same. It's not bad.
Yeah.
I love it, but
Mhm.
it's not like
Mhm.
everybody, like even the fucking creator was like, yeah, this is his Emmy moment, and
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
like, lads, if
Mhm.
Bob Osnick didn't get any enemies for Better Call Saul, he's not getting any enemy
Yeah.
for this. Like, calm down. Um,
Mhm.
I yeah, that, and I had to admit, I loved the concept of Sister Sage and this genius that was literally
Yeah.
getting to play a game of civilization. I was like,
Yeah.
that is so cool,
Mhm.
and I kind of
Mhm.
like how it ended for her and her character
Mhm.
just going, yeah, nah, go ahead. I was just having fun this entire time. Like, I wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see if
yeah,
I
yeah.
could do it, and I was like,
Mhm.
you're genuinely sorry, the like one of the most fucked up characters in this show. Like, that is how like
Yeah.
the level you are. I genuinely liked her character.
Mhm.
I thought the Deep was just
Do
sitting
you
around for
think?
nothing.
I think Sage was an interesting thing. I think when you when you put a character in a show or whatever, and they're labeled as the smartest character on the planet, that's pretty hard to write as a writer, because you know it's like, oh, I've
Yeah,
got to put myself in the position of being the smartest person on the planet. And I guess as it is kind of cop outy, because you can just write anything and then go, and it was my plan the
yeah,
entire time, sort of thing. But no, the Sage thing. The Sage thing is good because I did like the fact she played on Homelander's insecurities and knew that Homelander would eventually get sick of her and get rid of her. And it's like, oh yeah, but there was a contingency for that. Like, I was expecting that to happen, which is good. And I still think the person who's going to kill her will be Homelander in the end. Um,
yeah.
I think that's how it's probably going to go. Um, when it's all
Um,
said and done, probably near the end of next season.
near
But
near the
with
end.
my problem with the boys this season, okay, is that, like you're saying, Kyle, it's we're just kind of like, you know,
We're setting up.
doing the same old. And yeah, it is a bit fillery. I get you had to bridge some stuff to sort of get to where you want to be in season
Mhm,
5,
mhm, mhm.
but it does feel like we're plodding along. It doesn't feel Nothing really feels that shocking anymore. Like, the shock factor is kind of taken out of the show
Do you
now.
know?
Um,
I'm gonna say whose character was a
uh-huh,
complete waste of time this entire season, and I think that
uh-huh,
has to be
yeah,
Ryan. Because Ryan's character did not
Ryan.
do any different from the end of season 3 when he saw that his dad
Hmm.
kill somebody and everybody cheering. He was a wee bit, oh,
Yeah,
and then at the end
yeah.
of it, he's killed people and he's like, oh right, and I'm like, I just don't see
Mhm.
his character really.
Ryan's interesting, right? Because I thought they were going to really push it this season, that he's just going to be full Homelander. But then he really obviously hates the entire corporate sphere he's in. He sees that you're not actually saving anyone. He realizes his dad is some sort of sociopath. But then, but I actually don't actually know where they're going to go with him now, because he
I
doesn't want to go
really
back to
don't. It's
Homelander,
so
and he doesn't want to go
he
with
kills
Butcher,
Mallory at the
and
end,
he kills
and
Mallory,
I was really
and
hoping that
obviously
would
that. Uh,
break him. I wanted that to be like an
yeah.
emotional
Hmm.
thing that just destroys him. Uh,
Hmm.
but I
But like, I don't really know plot wise. Ryan's actually, what for the next season, is one of the characters I'm actually most interested in, because I'm like, where are you going to take him? Is he just going to do his own thing? Is he going to help the
Mhm.
boys? What's he going to do? I mean, obviously, there is going to be some sort of showdown between, because obviously Ryan killing Mallory and going off on his own is what pushes Butcher into going full. letting in Jeffrey Dean Morgan demon character in and letting him use his weird tentacles, uh,
Yeah,
like
that
uh,
mate,
like
I
was
was
it like
like,
number one from Stranger Things sort of
no,
powers? Yeah.
no, well, no, I
Uh,
was thinking,
uh-huh.
yeah, but have you ever seen Umbrella
Mhm.
Academy, where the guy has like,
I've not watched the Umbrella Academy.
he has like
Is that
literally
what
kind
his?
of like almost like
Yeah.
octopus arms coming out of him.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
was a bit
Yeah.
like seeing that happen. Butcher's character
Mhm.
annoys me as well. It's like you can't tell as a
Okay.
character is on death's door at the end of the last
Mhm.
season, and he
Mhm.
continues to be on death's door, and he's still on death's
Yeah.
door,
But
and you're
that's I
like,
think there's something to do with the some sort of weird, I don't know, the psychological thing, or allowing the compound V to really take over. Because see, when he walks in that room and he kills Victoria, um, he doesn't look unwell anymore. He looks like like Billy again. Like
because
he doesn't look
he's
pale.
letting the tumors
He
do what they
he's
want. Like
letting like whatever this thing is take control and become
I,
like
f-
the
I
full evil
feel,
butcher.
yeah. See, I
Uh-huh.
feel that's also a setup
Hmm.
for. I feel like they're. I think this is what they're going to do with Huey. Is that Huey's going to have to end up killing
Hmm.
Butcher, and they're like, right, we
Yeah,
need
I
to
think
just
he'll kill him.
distract Huey for a season, and
Yeah, yeah.
just like it's when Game of Thrones when they're like, right, we can't do anything with Bran this season, so we're just going to not
Hmm.
include him at all. They can't do that with
Yeah.
Huey, who's like they can't not have Huey just in
Yeah.
the show for a season, so they had to like make
Mhm.
up storylines for him. I
Mhm.
feel like he's gonna do the kind of thing where it's like, oh, Butcher's the evil one. I'm gonna try and fix my
Mhm.
lighting here because it's horrific. But like, oh,
Well,
Butcher's the
I
evil
agree. I
one, and
think Huey will be the one to kill Butcher, but do you think who's going to be the one to kill Homelander next season? Who do you think? Do you think Ryan's going to be the one to do that?
I think Ryan will. I don't think we're gonna give
Yeah.
Butcher the satisfaction of doing it anymore.
No. No.
I think
Yeah, I agree. I think that, yeah, I think that's where we're going to go as a finale. Is that
I think
obviously Butcher and
Butcher
Homelander will
will
die
prank
and.
Homelander, which will make him weak
Mhm.
enough that Ryan can take a shot
Okay.
at
And what
him.
about Soldier Boy? When's he coming back? What's his
Oh my god, I
involvement in it
forgot
all?
Soldier Boy was just kicking
Soldier
around.
Boy's gonna come back.
Well, obviously, because
Yeah.
the thing is, Eric Rippey said that they're going to bring in the other supernatural boy into the show.
Oh right, they're gonna bring them all in, right?
They're going to bring them all
Okay.
in. I'm
Mm.
like I said to you, I'm glad next season's the final
Me too.
because I
Mhm.
couldn't have another season of just waiting.
Yeah,
The
because obviously the entire sort of excitement of the boys from when you're watching it from the earlier seasons as well is like when's Homelander gonna fucking break and start killing
yeah,
everyone, And he's now in a position of power, and we're probably only gonna get that Homelander for like an episode or two,
hmm
and that's it. Like
I mean,
I kind of thought this season would end with Homelander breaking and start going crazy and killing
because the
everyone,
thing is,
but
everybody
we
else was
don't get
doing
that.
it. He got everybody else
Yeah.
to go around. Like the Deep is just
Hmm.
really,
Yeah.
his whole like storyline with the octopus played by Tilda Swinton, which I just thought was, I just her voice is so funny just to be
Yeah,
there.
just her being in this. Yeah.
But
But what you're
him
saying
kind of
about
going,
Homelander there.
like I thought he was going to be
Mm.
doing that. But you know how they made that list?
Mm.
I thought
Yes.
Homelander was
And
just
just
going to
kill
go around
everyone in a
zap,
pot.
zap, 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 zap.
Yeah.
Ashley taking she was smart, just running and taking that
Yeah.
compound fee.
Yeah, and we don't see the ramifications
I
of it. We
I
don't
don't.
see what she's become.
I love it if she turns
Hmm.
into this Hulk character that's the one that kills Homelander. I think that would be the best twist in the show, like
No,
Abomination,
that'll be interesting. Yeah. I mean,
and she
Ashley's
just
an
turns
interesting
into
character because
yeah.
she's been a horrible human being for
hmm
most of the show now. But now that she's put in this position of fear and at any second I'm going to die and completely on the verge of a breakdown, you're starting to kind of come around to her. I liked her and A Train's whole dynamic
I was
this
gonna
season.
ask about A
Um,
Train.
mhm.
hmm
Yeah,
What do
A
you?
Train was definitely. I think he was my favorite character of the series
Yeah.
because now here's the thing with A Train because it's kind of what we've been him betraying Seven is obviously kind of what we've been building to. Now I thought, oh, should they have just killed him in season three? And I was kind of on that. I was like,
I
A
was on
Train's
that
kind of,
train.
pardon the pun,
Yeah.
run his course. I thought, but I really thought they brought it back. And I just think from an 8 episode standpoint, with his character, him seeing his nephews and how his brother feels about him, and then him saving Mother's Milk,
Well, him
and
Huey
actually getting that,
finally
getting
actually forgiving him.
Uh-huh.
as well.
Yeah, exactly. He's saving Huey in episode 3, like doing all these good deeds. I just loved his turnaround, and I'm like, yeah, this is great. And we don't know where he's gone. And I really want him. I really want more A Train in the next season. I really
I
do.
don't know. I
I mean,
wonder
I'm
if
pretty sure he'll
he'll.
probably die, but
I feel
I want more of him.
it'll be like a 4 episodes no A Train. A Train comes in the last second and just
Mhm.
he sees what's on the news. He's like, right, this is it. This is
Yeah.
my final run.
I hope I hope they don't do that. I hope they bring him in like and kind of
I have
make
to
him like a
admit,
core member of the
um,
boys. Hmm.
this episode, I give it credit for having the
Hmm.
best joke for me, which is when they
Hmm.
cancelled running training A Train, and Ashley goes, "Yeah, we
Yeah,
got more money from the tax write off."
that,
I was like,
yeah,
I
that was a
was like,
great
here,
scene.
no, give it to
That was
the
funny.
studios for just
Hmm.
realize. I thought that was I genuinely think that's the funniest joke of the season, just because of how
Yeah,
much it takes the Mickey out of studios for being
yeah.
horrible industries.
No, I really enjoyed that. I really thought that joke was funny too. Now look, I want to talk about another one. The Deep.
Yeah,
Right. I think he's a love or hate him character at this point. I think people either find his scenes really funny or they can't be bothered with him. I am on the latter camp. I I'm just finding the deep stuff just I don't really find him that funny anymore. I've thought
no,
for a couple of seasons now most of his scenes have been filler and superfluous.
I
And
think
this season, once again, I've just really see when him and Black Noir attack the boys. I really wanted that to be the end of him because I
here,
really
right. So
I'm now kind of sick of him.
I
Mhm.
was about to say, yeah, I really do think he should have done. This is the issue I was telling you I have is that this show
Mhm.
is coming up to this final season. There's no many
Mhm.
ramifications. Like I need
Yeah.
people dropping off.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need Mallory died. I'm like, yeah, okay, it's Mallory and Newman.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I need core
Yeah.
members
Mhm.
dropping like fly. I was like, that
Mhm.
is the perfect time. Annie just to finally just do the deep end after all the shit she's been through. I
Yeah.
thought that would have been just
I really
perfect.
wanted I
You
just
know,
wanted it to be the end, yeah, yeah. I know they
what would
said
you?
how do we like, oh, but how do we kill him because he does have like, impenetrable skin or whatever. But just who cares? Just like you don't need to write that line in. Just kill him with the weight.
No,
Like
you're.
I just
Look,
really I'm
I
just
thought Newman
done
had
with him.
impenetrable skin, and then just
Yeah.
he just rips her apart.
That is interesting, right? Because Newman is definitely. I saw some people like, oh, I don't know if Newman's dead. I'm like, I don't know what people need to see on screen to believe a character's dead. She's dead. Like there's no the shapeshifter's dead. She's dead. Like
Mhm.
it's over. But what does that mean for like Butcher's strength? Like what he is
Mm.
capable of? So how powerful is Butcher? That's something that we don't really know, which will be interesting to see next season. But yeah, is there any other particular moments or anything else you wanna mention about this season?
Um, I no, I can't think actually. I thought Firecracker just trying to impress Homelander no matter what by like
Mhm.
making her like destroying her body just to produce breast milk. I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
find that funny because she just
Mhm,
knew that it's best to be on his
mhm.
good side because there's no way of
Yeah.
competing with him.
Mhm.
The Black Noir, I have to admit, Black Noir was funny for me,
Bloodor
where
had some good moments for sure where
they
he can't stay in
replaced
character.
Black Noir,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
in the sense it's this new guy taking over, but it's the same actor who's actually been portraying him
Mhm.
the last 4 seasons. But he
Yeah,
finally gets to speak, um,
yeah.
and I just thought it was quite funny. I really enjoyed Sister Sage's whole like puppet mastery kind of aspect.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm glad it's over, and I am glad the next season's the last. To be honest, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
What would you
yeah.
give it as a score? What would you say?
This is hard. I kind of fall on the same train as you. I also, weirdly enough, like the Acolyte. This isn't. Well, one, I don't understand why people were all of a sudden just catching on to the political commentary of the boys, which
Yeah,
has
I know
been
that's funny.
the most obvious social
You don't think
commentary on
that's been
TV for the
going on
past
for like
three or
since
four seasons.
2019? Yeah.
I don't understand how people have just woken up to that. Maybe it's just because they're really doubling down on the whole like presidential election year. I don't understand how this is
Well, they
just
had to change the
just
title
you
of
roll the
the
clock.
last
And
episodes.
they had, this episode's the final episode is just called the season 4 finale because
That's
they have to put a whole disclaimer out
it
about
was like
the president because
what was
yeah
it?
this
It
this
was going to be
depicts a
called
presidential assassination. It was called
Assassination
Assassination
Run.
Nation
Was it
or
something
Run.
like
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
yeah, it was
And I was
Assassination Run
like,
actually. That was it.
oh
Hmm.
gosh, that was like, yep,
And it was just
okay.
season 4 finale. Yeah, yeah. I get it. I honestly, I actually get it. That's really bad timing for this show. Um, what dealing with that. But yeah, I was like on camera there. I was just giving a thumbs up because my postman just waved at me. I was like, uh, am I giving the boys a thumbs up? What do I give this season? I think it's the weakest season so far, not
I
because of
agree.
any political. I actually think the political commentary stuff was probably the funniest stuff
Hmm.
they dealt with. I just think this is a show running out of steam, and they really want to get to the end game.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, all the gore and the violence and the oh my god, crazy killer sheep, which is stolen from like a zombie sheep film, which I saw years ago. Like it's like a UK film. Um,
That
I'm just
famous
like,
zombie
or
sheep
is it a New
film, yeah.
Zealand film? Yeah, something like that. It was
No
like came
idea.
in the 2000s. Um, oh, I don't know, man. It felt like it's like the most. I do feel kind of tired of it a little bit. It
Yeah,
has
I'm
its
with you.
moments, but I also think there's episodes like the Tech Night stuff, and even the like you're saying the farm and bringing Giancarlo Esposito in for what like
I know.
it does it does meander, and that's why I'm going to give the boys probably a 6 out of 10 this season.
I'm exactly with you there. 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's not
Okay.
horrific. It's not like
No, it's
terrible
not bad.
TV.
Yeah.
It's not like a season of TV that if I was to rewatch The Boys, I wouldn't miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wouldn't just
Mm-hmm.
skip a season. There's a lot of TV that I would
Mm-hmm.
probably be like, yeah, I'll skip season 3 or 4 or something
Yeah.
like that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm glad next season's last. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and I hope it picks up for next season because to be honest, I kind of felt this way. Season 1 I thought was really strong, and then season 2 I was a bit iffy on. Then season 3 really picked it up again.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just even numbered
I
seasons of
know.
the boys just aren't the
Hopefully,
best for
season
me, but that's
five
kind of where I
just
land.
brings it
Season
back.
5 back to the odd number. But yeah, I guess that will wrap everything up. So thank you very much, Kyle, for joining me.
Very welcome. Yeah.
Yes. So later on this week, we've got 2 episodes this week. We're going to be ranking the X-Men films because Deadpool and Wolverine is out next. Well, we're seeing it next Thursday, so we'll hopefully have a review for that for next week as well, next Friday. But until then, we'll just give our opinions on The Boys season 4, The Acolyte, and Twisters. But at the end of the day, those were our unwanted opinions. Thank you very much.